I think you only have one problem, and I think you know what that problem is.
You don't know what you're talking about. Just leave me alone.
You already are alone, Bunny. Now, do you want to be that way for the rest of your life, or do you want to get help?
I want to go talk to Sarah.
Okay. How can I help her?
Well, I think you should try and talk to her, buddy. Show her that you care. And then try to get her to join AA.
Oh, swell. She wrecks my car, and now you want me to get her to join the automobile club?
I just wanted to let you know about my study group.
Oh, don't be a fuddy-duddy. I'll be your study buddy.
I'm about to embark on one of the great challenges of my scientific career.
This work right here is going to change history.
I think this is going to be our greatest mission.
I don't have time to study. I'll never get into Stanford.
I got big plans for you tonight. I got maps, I got charts. I'm going to see you through this because my credibility is on the line.
It's at this point that you'll want to start taking notes.
Welcome to the Sitcom Study, the podcast where we contemplate the TV shows we grew up with and search for the truth and wisdom within the tropes and cliches. And Amy, what's the trope we're talking about tonight?
Let's open the bottle, Jay. It's booze time. Very special alcoholism episodes.
Alcoholism in the family. We are talking specifically sitcom episodes where we get a visit from our alcoholic uncle,
drunk uncle,
niece, brother, sister, depending on what we're doing.
Yep.
But yeah, that's what we're talking about. We're back on the airwaves after a little bit of a hiatus, and I feel like this is a really good lineup. This was a very fun set of shows, despite being about some pretty serious subject matter.
That's because the very special episodes are always, they just kind of go all out, right? I love in this one how you can't actually have any of the regular cast members have a problem like this. It always has to be like an extraneous person.
Yeah, I mean, there are examples of that, but yes, they're much more comfortable bringing in a random niece and having her have an issue. But so I'll ask you, to whatever extent you want to discuss, does this strike a chord with you? Have you had an experience of a family member or a loved one that everyone had to realize, oh, they're drinking too much, we got to do something about Uncle Frank or anything like that?
The Uncle Frank, right? I mean, yes, but it has always, in my family, it's always been kind of paired with the decline, like mental decline with aging as well.
Yeah.
So the forgetting how many drinks you had and just having a lot of drinks, or already having sort of like a secret kind of drinking issue that you were able to keep under control until you got to the point where your mind started deteriorating. That's happened to several people in my family. And like I said, it was kind of paired in their later years, like as they were declining. But in terms of these episodes and these shows, this was so nostalgic for me, because the idea of like sitting someone down and like they all have the same script, right? Where they're like, you need to call Alcoholics Anonymous.
Lots of overlap,
and
lots
it was like
of
a
Alcoholics
PSA.
Anonymous advocacy. Yeah.
Yeah, it really felt like they had this sort of, okay, the more you know, and we're going to have the link to the hotline at the end.
Well, I'm going to say, obviously our whole show is talking about tropes that overlap over different sitcom episodes. I feel like this is the first time where I would make the case that two of the episodes we're covering are directly inspired by one of the other ones.
Oh,
I think that this family ties, Tom Hanks, alcoholic uncle thing really kind of set a template that Charles in Charge and Hey Dude are specifically copying.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Obviously, the Good Times episode that we watched was before that, and it's different.
Yes,
it doesn't
it is
follow
different.
the same exact template.
And in some ways similar. I will say for myself, these episodes hit home with me because I was the drunk family member. With the important difference was that I called myself out before anybody else had to, and I got my issues under control. But I definitely had a very problematic relationship with alcohol, and I had times where I was drunk at family gatherings to an extent that did not make sense. I had secret liaisons and secret stashes of alcohol, like we'll get into in these episodes. A lot of the sort of, tropes, if you will, of this sort of problematic alcohol relationship. I dealt with a lot of that, and I think that's part of why these shows were so fun to me. Seeing the way that they would have genuine insight, like right next door from ridiculous melodrama and cluelessness and sort of Barbara Bush-esque alarmism. And that's what makes sitcoms so great, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I was saying before, not only was this a nostalgia pick for me for sure, but I think this is how I learned about alcoholism. We talk about the premise of the show being like, what did we learn, from these sitcoms as they were raising us in many ways, right? As Gen Xers. And I think for sure the Family Ties episode, and then absolutely that Hey Dude episode.
Yeah, for me, it would have been Charles in Charge and Hey Dude.
I was like, whoa, because we watched Family Ties as a family even in reruns. This episode, obviously, I think it airs in like 84. So I would have been too young to kind of understand it back when I was like 4 years old when it first came out.
But you catch up with it. Yeah, as we've discussed, I wasn't into Family Ties as a kid, but I would have seen these Charles in Charge and Hey Dudes episodes when they aired. Yeah. And of course, if we broaden the scope to just generally, be wary of alcohol, don't drink and drive, all of that stuff, you would have the Saved by the Bell episode where they get into a horrible, like, golf cart incident where like Slater drives the little training car into a locker or something. We were really being bombarded with the message, don't do drugs, don't drink.
Don't do drugs, and don't smoke cigarettes. That was beat into our heads as kids. So, what did we do when we got into high school? All of those things. Well, I did, not Jason.
I waited a few years. All right. What are our shows? What did we watch?
We watched Good Times, Season 2, Episode 13. Sometimes There's No Bottom in the Bottle. Family Ties, Season 2, Episode 14, Say Uncle. Charles in Charge, Season 3, Episode 14, Bottle Baby. And Hey Dude, Season 3, Episode 11, Melody's Brother. I'm noticing that all the network sitcoms, it was always right around the holidays. Episodes 13 and 14 would fall around the November sweeps.
Yeah, well, and we also can see that this is not a case like we sometimes have where, Season 9, Episode 7, right. Season 58, Episode because we're talking about
story ideas.
Yeah, and that trope is something like, they find a genie. This is a down-to-earth, real thing that a lot of these shows were tackling in Season 1, 2, or 3. And so, starting with this Good Times thing, we've watched Good Times several times before. We like the show a lot. This is quintessential 70s Norman Lear sort of working man sitcom. We've talked about how it started, kind of down-to-earth and genuine, and then kind of became a parody of itself. The actors were unhappy. There was all kinds of strife, but this is back in the beginning, Season 2. Everything's good. Everybody likes each other. This is going to be all about cousin Naomi, right? Yes. Which is Flo's brother, I guess. I don't know, but it's her niece.
It's her niece. I'm trying to say. Yeah, and I think you're right. I think it is. It's Florida's brother and his wife. Yeah. And it's their daughter.
Yeah. But interestingly, I'm sure they probably explained this at some point. For whatever reason, they're all getting together for the holidays. This happens to be a Christmas episode. And Naomi, the cousin, who's about the same age as Thelma, the daughter, she's with them earlier, and the rest of her family, her parents, haven't arrived yet.
Well, so, and I was wrong. It is the other way around. It's her sister. It's Florida's sister and her daughter and her husband. But so the parents and a brother, I think as well, are out visiting other friends and family that they know in the city during the day. Yeah. While Florida is at home cooking the meal. It's Christmas. They're going to have a big turkey they're going to celebrate Christmas together. And so she's at home. She's cooking the meal. And Thelma, that's the daughter.
That's the daughter.
Right? And Naomi are there to help out.
Okay.
And Thelma is pissed off basically at the beginning of the episode because Naomi keeps disappearing to the bathroom.
Everybody's, yes, the Michael is going to come home. He needs to pee. He can't get to the bathroom. Everybody is like, what's up with Naomi spending all of her time in the bathroom?
Right.
And Florida's like, cut her a break. This is going to be a recurring trope we should track right now. She's shy. She's sensitive. She's awkward. She's overwhelmed, right? Cut her a break. You know, Naomi.
Was this your playbook? Is this how you got into drinking? Like,
well,
all shy people drink?
That was definitely, this is a part of the story that did ring true to me. And again, they hit it again and again in all these different sitcoms. You know, you've got to make allowances for the fact that this person is overwhelmed.
Socially awkward. And so, now
so
they're making this decision to help them feel better at fitting in.
Yeah. And so, you know, for a while, we don't even get to meet Naomi yet. We just get this anticipation. JJ is saying, yeah, she's strange. She laughs all the time. She laughs at shower curtains, you know. So we're just sort of getting more and more of a picture of cousin Naomi is like, she laughs all the time. She hangs out in the bathroom. And, and then this is different than our later episodes where we get the sort of gradual reveal, hard cut to Naomi.
Bathroom set.
Chugging whiskey, right? Chugging some kind of brown liquor in the bathroom. And you hear the studio audience start to titter. And it's just like, okay, we're throwing down the gauntlet, letting everyone know this is the thing. Naomi is a drinker.
That's right. And so she's got several different ways throughout the episode. So we get the establishing shot of her in the bathroom, just like downing whiskey out of a bottle. Not one of the tiny little like airplane bottles, but not one of the big handles either. Like kind of a flat sort of bottle that she could maybe tuck away and hide somewhere. Then later on, we see her taking out one of her little travel beauty bottles that is in with all of her toiletry kit, and she's dumping vodka into that and chugging vodka out of that when she's much better exited from the bathroom.
Yeah, she's much better at being on the sly than Melody's brother, we're going to get to later in Hey Dude, that just secretly carries around a giant bottle of alcohol and freaks out.
Crown Royale, if anybody touches his backpack.
And when anybody goes anywhere near his backpack,
he's like, no.
Yes, Naomi is much more of a smooth customer. She's got, like you said, these secret ways, but we, the audience, are aware of her right away. So she comes back out and joins the family, and just like they said, she's cutting up. JJ is doing all of his one-liners. He's talking about he's the Casanova of the Windy City. He's doing his dynamite jokes, and she's just laughing, everything he says, the funniest thing in the world.
She's got one of these weird fake laughs. Like, I think we've talked about this on the podcast before. Allison Janney is an amazing natural laugher. And it always just kind of bugs me when you see these people. Like, the one audition this girl had to do, right, would have been, can you laugh?
Yeah.
Right? And they just, like, didn't have her do it. And she is just, I'm like, oh, it's so bad.
But we established, she's wacky, she's drunk. And again, this was something I related to, that you're hanging out with a bunch of people that maybe they're not totally your speed. And I absolutely would use alcohol as a crutch to just kind of like, I'll just put myself in the mood where everything's funny, and
Loosen
I'm just
up
like,
a little bit.
Yeah. And so that is exactly what she's done. And pretty soon we're going to get our next subtrope that happens in all of these episodes to one extent or another. The drinker being caught red-handed by the one character who will then be gaslit by the rest of the cast by them not believing her. Yes. Right. In this case, Naomi is now chugging vodka in the kitchen, right?
Yes.
Not a great combo.
Right. Florida has gone out to go shopping. Thelma's the only one home. And so Naomi goes over to the cupboards to, do something, fill up. I think it was just to fill up her little beauty bottle with the vodka. But then she looks around and no one's there. So she's like, oh, I'll just grab this cup, dump a bunch of vodka into this cup, chug it. She doesn't have time to refill it with water. We find out in the next scene that she has been refilling the whiskey bottle with tea.
Yeah. Thelma is scandalized.
Yes.
She says, I didn't know, because Naomi's like, I'm just drinking water. And she goes, I didn't know that the water in Chicago was 80 proof. Right. So Thelma is just like freaking out. I can't believe you're doing this. And Naomi, we get the usual sitcom, hey, be cool, man. All the stuff we got in our smoking episode. Relax. Don't be,
Yeah, what are you going to rat me out now?
Yeah. And so then, the following scene, like you said, when we get the adults back, John Amos, the dad, and Florida, and the friend Wilhelmina or whatever.
Willona.
They're all hanging out, popping out the drinks, and they're noticing, what's with the weird shenanigans with the liquor? Like the vodka's watered down.
Yeah, there's the vodka bottle's empty, but they don't even notice that till later on. They grab he got like Jack Daniels as a gift for his Christmas bonus at his work party that he's been to. But they don't open that because they have an open bottle. So they're like, oh, we'll just pour each other a drink out of this. And Florida and John Amos and the neighbor Willona, they sit down, they each have a drink. Thelma, and they're like joking around like, hey, I'll drink to that, and having these jokes. And Thelma is like yelling at her parents.
She's doing the sitcom thing of, I'm going to be really mad, but not tell anybody why.
Right.
So she's just like, everyone's drinking too much. Why is everything all about alcohol? And they're like, what are you talking about?
Like, we never drink. Yeah. It's a celebration. Like, it's Christmas.
Yeah, we're having like one drink on Christmas.
And they did whiskey and water too. So it was like, they had watered down their own whiskey.
Yeah.
And so they go to take a drink and they're all like, wait, this isn't whiskey. And then somebody goes over, grabs the bottle, sniffs it. Oh my gosh, this is tea. They go to get the vodka bottle. It's empty. And then Florida reaches up into the cabinet, into the cupboard, and pulls down the glass that Naomi had been drinking from and is like, this glass has been used and put away.
Yeah.
And then she's like, this is JJ's glass. Why would he do that? That's so weird. And then Willona lists off all of the things that let you know if someone is a drunk.
Yeah. Forgetful, defensive, uncoordinated, exaggerated sense of self-importance.
That's right.
Those are the bullet points.
So then in walks JJ, right? And he's like, I'm the best there ever was.
Yes, very
Dynamite,
silly. Tripping all over himself. Yes. And then, I can't remember what the joke is that he's forgetful, but he's something like that.
He can't remember. He's, Florida's like, where have you been? And he's like, Mama, I've been partying all over, And so Willona's just like ticking him off one by one, saying, JJ's the culprit. JJ's the one who's stealing your booze.
His silly stride, and John Amos goes, that's a weird walk if I ever saw one.
Yes. Uncoordinated. And so they try to sniff his breath, and he's like, wait, what are you talking about? This is ridiculous.
Well, they're giving him the third degree,
right? And
he confesses to having mixed the red and green Kool-Aid.
That's right.
He's like, you're right, I have been drinking. My friend so-and-so and I, we couldn't take it anymore. I mixed my red Kool-Aid with his green Kool-Aid.
That's right. And so, they're like, all right, well, whatever. It's clearly not him. And then
it cuts to Thelma sucking on
her bottle.
Whiskey bottle like a guinea pig at one of those things.
Yeah, it's that's the one that she filled with the rest of the vodka. Thelma walks in, sees her doing that, and they have their second confrontation, and this is the one that I think is a lot like what we see in the other episodes.
Your very special moment.
Exactly, where she's like, you have a problem.
Yes.
You need to think think about Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yes.
You're going to ruin your life.
This is where Thelma lays down some cautionary tales that are pretty intense.
Yes.
I feel like she has alcohol confused with PCP or angel dust or something. She's like, there was a kid that jumped off the roof because he wanted to fly like his pigeons.
Oh my God.
His pigeons.
That was the thing. Look, that was the thing. I think I've told you the story about Officer Friendly because I came up in the world before there was Dare. Dare was like after I was already out of elementary school. And so we had this guy, Officer Friendly, and he had a bike jamboree every year where we all got to, you know, get safety gear for our bikes, helmets that we weren't required to wear, but you could get one. And, you know, anyway, so whatever. So Officer Friendly told us about drugs in 5th grade. And he told us about LSD and how kids who are on LSD want to jump off the roof of buildings.
Yeah, because they think they can fly. Right.
And I went home and told my parents, and my parents, I'm I'm in 5th grade, so I'm like 11 years old, right? My parents are like, that's what the cops tell all the kids.
Yeah, because
nobody's actually trying to jump off buildings.
It's like razor blades in your Halloween candy. That's never happened. And this is what I was like sort of getting at before, where this is adjacent to a very real thing. My brother doesn't have his 2 front teeth because he fell down stairs while drunk. Like, people absolutely get hurt, but instead of going the route of he thought he was a pigeon and fly, you could just say like, yeah, alcohol gets you all messed up and people hurt themselves, you know, and like in a more realistic way. She also says something about like, it's not somebody put the baby in a microwave. That's from Heat, but it's something along those lines. Somebody did something with a baby that was like pretty wild.
Right.
Just,
like forgot their baby somewhere.
Yeah. Which granted, I mean, I'm sure stuff like that happens.
She left the baby in the laundromat or something.
But yeah, it's very, very intense cautionary tales from Thelma. We get complete disregard from cousin Naomi. You know, she's just like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Basically, she's like, are you going to rat on me? All right, well then shut up because you don't know what my life is. You have this perfect house, this perfect family, like everything's great for you. And that's not my life. And you have friends. And so, you know, you don't understand the pressure I'm under and you don't understand what it's like to be me. And that's what we hear from all of our people. And so, and then she goes back to drinking and then Thelma walks out and then everybody arrives.
Yes, we get her parents. We should mention this, you know, after she spent the whole day in the bathroom drinking and she spent that brief period, you know, Naomi, hanging out with the family. When they mention, oh, your parents going to be here soon. Everyone's arriving. She goes, oh, well, in that case, I better put on more makeup. And that's when she excused herself to drink more. So yeah, the family shows up and this is another subtrope we're going to get in some of these. This idea of the apple doesn't fall far from the tree,
right?
Alcoholism wise, because we see that her parents are like, hey, bust out the alcohol, everybody. It's Christmas time.
Well, and not just her parents, specifically her dad. Yeah. And her dad is like trying to offer everyone wine for the toast. And, you know, Florida and James are like, well, wait, you know, Michael's too young. He can't have any. You know, Thelma can have a sip. JJ's old enough, but our kids don't drink. So like, we don't really do that. And he's like, my daughter's been drinking since she was a kid.
He does the full on like sitcom peer pressure also. He goes, you want him to grow up to be a man, don't you?
Right.
And then he proceeds to explain how
wine will make you a man.
Yeah. And then
Hair
after he's made that like weirdly gendered statement, he proceeds to describe all the times when his daughter drinks. He's like proudly saying, she drank at her baptism. Yeah. She drank at her communion.
She's been drinking since she was 4 years old.
Yeah. Then we get what? Like
she stands up to support her dad and then is like, ha 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 ha, and falls and like
passes
back
out
down and immediately passes out. And everyone's like, oh my God, what happened? And Thelma's like, she's bombed.
Yeah, she's wasted. She's been drinking all day. And then we get the dad, right? Her dad, the family's uncle, going, oh, for a minute there, I thought she was on drugs. Hard cut to commercial.
And you and I both were like, hold on. What?
Yeah, it was only when it came back from commercial and it was a completely different scene.
Yeah, it was like the next day. Yeah. I was like, did we miss something?
Yes, it was a very odd way to end the scene. And I guess what we're supposed to take is that her father has this misguided idea that alcohol is not a drug and that it's okay that she's been a wino since she was 4 years old as long as she doesn't do drugs.
Right. Oh, she just passed out. That's fine. That's totally normal.
Yeah.
And yeah, cut to commercial. And when they come back, it's a couple days later or the next day or something. And they were like, wow, it was really nice having the family, our family visit. But, I'm really thankful for you
they're
guys.
making wishes. And Thelma says, I wish Naomi gets the help she needs or whatever. And I think they make some comment about, she went to a program or whatever. But
I didn't hear that.
Whatever it is, it's definitely not addressed in that scene with her. It's all this weird little epilogue where they're just like, it's just like you said at the beginning. It's not anyone in our nuclear family that we're ever going to see on the show again.
Ever.
So, so we've got...
she's okay.
Yeah, but so look, tracking the tropes, I mean, a lot of it is there, right? The secretive drinking, the rest of the family being in denial, even sort of being comically off the scent and thinking that the other person, JJ in this case, is the one that's drinking. And then, I guess what's so interesting in this one and the way that it's different from some of the other ones we're going to talk about is how in sort of like 30 seconds, we go from all of the other characters being completely oblivious to the drinker's alcohol problem, to them just collapsing.
Like fanning her and trying to get her out of the chair.
And just everyone just going through these like 7 stages of grief all at once. And just be like, oh my God, she's drunk. She's unconscious. She's an alcoholic. At least it's not drugs.
Show over.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I think in these next ones, we're going to get a little more even paced. But this was a good one to set the stage. Moving on to Family Ties.
Season 2, episode 14, Say Uncle.
Yeah, so this is a big one. If you look up, sitcoms about alcohol or very special episodes or something, this Tom Hanks Family Ties episode is always on the top of the list, up there with the several other Family Ties episodes. I was thinking today about how, because of the way the show tackled these issues, this one family has had the most eventful 5 years where this one kid has had his one friend die in a car crash, his uncle's an alcoholic and a white collar criminal, the daughter was molested.
He's not a white collar criminal. He was a whistleblower.
Okay, fair enough. Well, let's start there. This is our second appearance of Tom Hanks as Uncle Ned.
Yep.
Right?
And last appearance because he's about to go do what?
He is about to blow up. Yep.
This is 1984. What year did Splash
is going to come out the same year, and then over the next 3 years, we're going to get Splash, Bachelor Party, The Money Pit, Dragnet, Nothing in Common with Jackie Gleason, and then...
I loved The Money Pit, because I love Shelley Long.
And then in 1988, 4 years later, you're at Big, Academy Award nomination, and he's A-list actor. So, this is, he's obviously backed by popular demand, right? People like this character. They wanted to do more with him. So explain briefly what the first Uncle Ned story was, because that was kind of a whopper.
Yes. So I think that the first Uncle Ned story was a 2-parter. I think it was a season ender. It was one of those, we've talked about how this idea of ending the season on a cliffhanger or a big deal episodes at the end of the season didn't really start happening until the 80s. Cheers didn't even do it their first season. But Family Ties did. They had this kind of figured out. And so many of the sitcoms that we love, like you said, learned from the success of Family Ties. So the end, I think it was around the end of season 1. It may have been sweeps, May sweeps season 1. But Uncle Ned is a vice president at a stockbroker kind of company. He had a financial company, and there's this big merger ahead. And the merger is actually what they're going to do is they're going to go to this plant in this small town. They're going to buy it up, and they're going to end up firing everybody. be. And he knows this because he's high up enough in the company. So he hides the like $14 million that the company needs to do the merger, to do the acquisition. He siphons it off so when they're going through the due diligence, they don't have the funds to actually make
So
the
he
purchase.
sabotages this merger.
Right. So, and hides it from his bosses.
So in so doing, commits embezzlement.
Exactly. And so he embezzles, but he doesn't actually keep or take the money. He just is trying to, hide it so that this deal won't go through. Saved hundreds of people's jobs and a whole town basically.
But lost his job and risked.
And was on the run. So that in the last episode we see of him, he's on the run from the FBI. Yeah. He shows up and all these weird calls start coming in and there's like strange people outside and he's being watched. And then the FBI gets in touch. And so it's this whole like, what's happening over the course of 2 episodes? Then he comes clean. And then, we find out during that Elise is the big sister and she's always kind of, taking care of the little brother, even though he is very successful.
Yes. And Alex idolizes him because he is a financial person and sort of in that world of business.
And was
just sort of
a vice president of a large corporation at 27 years old, which is unheard of. He went to Harvard. He's got all the things that Alex wants to be. And so now it's, half a year later, Uncle Ned can't find work. Uncle Ned is no longer, wanted because he came clean and the FBI dropped the charges and everything was fine because the money wasn't actually gone.
But he is not wanted as an employee either.
Exactly. No company will trust him. This is why we have whistleblower laws, though. Had he not tried to do it himself and hide the money, had he just come forward and used under the whistleblower laws, told what was happening, then it would have been okay. But probably what they were doing, having hundreds of people lose their job, wasn't illegal. So
well, and what we know
protected.
about this Uncle Ned character, we could guess maybe his heart was in the right place, but he didn't go about it in exactly the most sensible way.
He flies by the seat of his pants. You can't tell me what to do. I'm Ned the Great.
He is Ned. Yes, I guess not Ned Keaton. He's whatever Elise's maiden name is.
He says it several times. I can't remember now. It's like Denning or something like that.
But so, Uncle Ned's coming back into town. Everyone's excited. The kids can't wait to see him. Elise can't wait to see him. And this is where we get another aspect of alcoholism that really kind of rings true to me, the way that alcohol is different from other drugs, because he can walk right in the door and say, hey, everybody, let's have some good times. Hey, Steven, grab a beer. Hey, let's everybody have a beer. And alcohol is very socially accepted, particularly with, I don't know. Steven and Elise are hippies, so maybe they wouldn't mind if he walked in smoking a joint. But generally speaking, alcohol doesn't have the connotation that other drugs do. And so you see throughout the whole first half of this episode, it's just kind of a fun hangout episode where Uncle Ned is spending time with the family, playing games and whatnot. But we're seeing how Ned always has a beer by strange coincidence, they ask him a trivia question about what country consumes the most beer.
Right.
And it turns out to be West Germany, just to give him the excuse to go, well, we need to catch up to them, so let's drink more beer.
Right. And Steven's like, yeah, get me one too. And Alex is like, oh no, I've got a test tomorrow. I'm studying for this thing, so I'm not going to have a beer. Cause I don't think actually he's old enough, but Ned keeps saying, hey, Alex, do you have any beers? Like they're Alex's.
Yeah.
Maybe because I can't remember. At this point, he hasn't graduated from high school yet, though.
No, this is early in the show.
He's 18, I think, at this point in season 2. He does turn 18 at some point.
I don't know, but
and
he's not interested.
it is early enough in the 80s that, if
they just didn't care.
Well, it's early enough in the 80s that some places drinking laws were still 18.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, regardless, he's not interested in drinking anyway, so it's sort of a moot point.
Right.
We get this night of of, more beer. And then everyone's like, all right, whatever, let's go to sleep. Party breaks up. And then we get the real sort of centerpiece scene where Alex comes downstairs the kitchen in the middle of the night. He's doing his, pulling his all-nighter studying, looking for food in the refrigerator. And Ned, Tom Hanks, is like silently, morosely sitting at the table, drinking straight liquor by himself, gazing into the middle distance. Yeah, in the dark. He scares Alex. He's like, hey, Alex, what are you doing? Just to for a laugh. Yeah. And then we get this whole wild scene where Alex comes to discover that Ned is really drunk. He goes on a whole crazy,
do you think you're better than me?
Yeah, the whole emotional roller coaster of, being combative and then I'm
sad. Just kidding.
We see that like desperation, this is another thing that is very true, that like if you run out of alcohol, if an alcoholic runs out of alcohol before they're ready to pass out, like it's a real problem, and you see Ned's kind of freaking out, like, how can we get alcohol? And
Alex is like, oh, it's after midnight, stores are closed, sorry. And he's like, all right. He disappears into the walk-in pantry and comes back out with like maraschino cherries and jars of olives and vanilla extract. He's like, there's got to be some alcohol in here somewhere.
Alex is very alarmed by the fact that Ned drinks a full bottle of vanilla extract, which granted is extremely alarming, but
disgusting. Like, I feel like you would throw up.
Well, yeah, I don't know if it's possible to do that, but my question is, does vanilla extract contain alcohol?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, all of those extracts are like tinctures. So there is, there is some sort of like zine or a propyl or whatever that is an agent to keep it from turning thick again. Okay. Well, I guess Tom Hanks knows that because, yes, he knocks back the bottle of vanilla extract. Alex cannot believe what he's seeing. And yeah, Ned goes on this tirade where he's like, I spoke in front of the World Bank. It's like, you can't tell me what to do. Yeah. I'm a total loser. Nobody wants to hire me. So they go their separate ways, but this is Hank's Oscar scene where he's doing all those things. He breaks down crying. Alex is just like, I can't believe this. Like my hopes and dreams are crushed. A mess. Yeah. And we didn't tell you guys this, but so the whole premise, like part of the premise of this episode is that there's a job at Steven's station. Yes, that is important. And so Ned has an interview in the morning because he's been struggling to get a job, but at least here it's a friendly interview. Yes, Steven has hooked him up with this job interview. They've been talking about it the whole time. The mom and the sister were bugging him. And then, surprisingly, the next morning, Ned is not hungover at all. He seems like chipper, or if he is, he's doing a good job of hiding it. He's chipper and he's in a good mood. He's up early with Elise and, or no, is it the conversation with Alex happens first? Yeah. So Alex has kind of been up all night, one for studying, but two because he was so upset. And he's sitting there in a reversal of the scene from the night before. He's sitting there at the table with his orange juice, kind of staring off into the middle distance and more staring down like at his lap, just kind of looking very upset that how is he going to tell his parents? How is he going to talk to Uncle Ned? Like, he's really worried about his hero, Yeah. And then Ned comes down and he's like, hey, what's going on? It's going to be a great day. He pours himself a glass of orange juice and then he disappears. With the glass of orange juice. He leaves, right? And so then Elise comes in and everybody else comes in and they all are like, oh, it's time to go, whatever, they're leaving. Everybody leaves except Elise and Alex. Yes. Alex talks to the mom. Yes, this is where we get the scene of
I'm concerned about so-and-so. He says, like, Ned has a serious alcohol problem, and Elise does the whole, like, oh, everyone has a few beers now and then, but he gets her attention with the vanilla extract detail.
Yeah.
When he's like,
this isn't one of those scenes, thank God, where they just, like, leave things unsaid and there's there's miscommunication because you don't say anything.
They do it right. And it's like the detail of him drinking a bottle of vanilla extract is not something that Alex could make up. You know,
right.
You could see
the mom just like
she's
stops.
like, vanilla extract.
She's like,
say?
I'll talk to him.
Yeah. And so Alex goes to school and Tom Hanks, she comes, and at first she's going to leave it alone because she's like, well, he's here, he's alert, he's
fine,
lucid,
exactly.
He's on his way to this job interview. And then he discovers, again, something I relate to strongly, he discovers a leftover, like, little airline mini bottle of vodka in his suit pocket. And he's like, oh, look at you. He's doing the young Tom Hanks comedy thing of talking to the bottle. Oh, we could have some fun together or whatever.
Yep.
And makes himself a little makeshift screwdriver.
Yep,
and
dumps the whole thing into his glass of previously poured orange juice.
Yes.
And she sees this and she's like, Ned, don't you have an interview at 11 today? Do you really think you should be doing that? And
we
he's
should
like,
say,
this is great. It's just a little pick me up in the morning.
yes, an important difference between this and a lot of our other shows is this is an adult, you know, so this is not Cousin Naomi where just the mere presence of any alcohol, you have to hide it. Like all of his alcohol, is hiding in plain sight. He's drinking beers in front of them. He's drinking the vodka in the morning in front of her.
Right.
You know?
And their comment is like, oh, wow, he really put it away last night.
Yeah,
you know,
he knows how
like
to do
thinking that was like your brother said about my dad at Thanksgiving this year. Like, oh, he could really put him away. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's enough to get her to say, like, all right, like, we should talk about this. And then this is the same conversation we get later on in Hey Dude, where he's like, well, I could stop whenever I want to.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, then stop right now. And he's like, okay, I will.
That's right. Oh, and we did get that in the Good Times episode too, except for it's a turnaround. Thelma is the one who's like, the only thing you haven't said is the one thing that would let me know that you were an alcoholic more than anything else. And that's that you can stop whenever you want. And Naomi's like, I can stop whenever I want.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Ned is like, okay, like, deal. I will not drink anymore. End of story.
End of story.
I'll
and
see
he
you
dumps
later.
out the orange juice, or he dumps out the screwdriver, and they hug, and that's that.
And he goes off to the interview, and
he goes off about his day, because the interview isn't for like 3 more hours.
Yes, in the tradition of these other characters that promise to not drink and then immediately leave to go to some unexplained business.
Right.
And so
to find alcohol at 8 a.m.
But thankfully, we get to see the interview. This is not the sitcom thing where we have to just have it happen off screen and learn about the aftermath. We get a boss character. I don't know if we've met him before.
And I don't think we ever see him again. Because Steven's the boss, like later on in the series.
Okay. Yeah. But this is down at Steven's work. We get Tom Hanks showing up and being, again, young Tom Hanks, being silly and funny and doing little routines. There's one part, I forget what he says, but then the boss like looks at him and he goes, jokes are out. Gotcha. And he starts like manhandling the boss and doing these like crazy sort of like
sits on
routines.
Steven's lap. He was, and honestly, if you didn't know that this was a show about drinking, you would think that he was just trying to bomb the interview
just
on purpose.
Self-sabotaging. Yeah. He whips out. Yeah. The way it all plays out, because it's an escalation of strangeness. At first he sits down and makes a joke or whatever, but like he seems pretty normal.
Yeah, well, because the boss guy asks him to tell his side of the story.
Well, that's the thing. So the boss says, okay, I know about your like checkered past with this other company. Why don't you tell me your side of the story? And that's when Tom Hanks takes out Jennifer's clarinet, which has been the running joke throughout the whole thing. She's bad at the clarinet. She's practicing all the time. And so they get interrupted. The boss gets a phone call and Steven's like, what are you doing? What's with the clarinet?
I thought it would be fun.
Tom Hanks is like, I don't know, clarinet, job interview, what? why. It's funny. So
I thought I could
he's
break
like,
the tension.
Get rid of the clarinet and be normal. And long story short, Hanks gets more and more ridiculous. He starts sitting in the guy's lap. He just starts acting crazier and crazier. And it's just, it's funny, it's cringy, it's silly. It is one of those things where I do say, whatever. It's a sitcom, it's fine. But this is the least credible aspect of the sort of portrayal of alcoholism to me. If this guy came into the interview drunk, you would be able to tell, but this over-the-top lunacy, like he's just, again, like a mental patient off his meds, is just like that's not what a heavy drinker is like on alcohol. They might say things that they might regret. They might act weird.
Or slur or something like
fall
that.
over.
Yeah.
And it would be just as effective if he showed up drunk and everyone was able to tell that he was drunk and therefore sabotage the interview, as opposed to being like, I'm a birdie in the sky, or like whatever ridiculous thing is that he's doing. And so, it ends with the boss going, this interview is over. And and that's that. And then we cut to back home.
And he's like, well, I didn't want your job anyway. I'm out of here.
Yeah. And so look, it's, it does not take Sigmund Freud to figure out that, yes, in addition to the alcoholism piece, this is obviously Tom Hanks's character being insecure and not wanting to sort of face this process of starting his career again and having to be accountable for his actions and blah, 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 blah. He wants to just not deal with it and sabotage himself.
Exactly.
And so back home we get, the whole thing blows
This
up.
is the intervention, right? So he's not home yet. Alex and Elise are there, and she's filling him in on Ned's promise not to drink anymore. And Alex is like, well, I really hope he means it. I don't know if he can just say it and do it, because it was pretty bad last night. And
I remind you about the vanilla extract.
Right. Like he was rummaging through the cupboards looking for, liquids in the bottles that he could just drink. And then Steven comes home and he's like, where's Ned? And they're like, what? What happened? How'd the interview go? And he was like, he showed up drunk. And they were like, oh no. And then in he walks with some sort of, like he's holding some sign or something, and he's been out at the bar all day.
I don't remember the sign. What I will say throughout this whole second half of the episode, when he's dressed up for this interview, Tom Hanks wears a suit like nobody else. I have not
Young
seen
Tom Hanks. Poof,
this suit fits him better than any garment has fit any person. It's so like perfectly snug on his body without seeming tight or uncomfortable or anything. Like he just looks so good in it. But he comes back completely, like, this is truly an escalation where he has seemed wasted ever since before he drank the vanilla extract.
Right.
In the interview, he was, plastered, and now he is just like whirling dervish, just all over the place, stumbling into the house.
Exactly.
And he gives this whole speech. Do you know what it's like to be washed up before you're 30 years old? He says, it's me and the Mouseketeers. We're the only ones that understand. This is where Alex takes out his newspaper clippings and tries to show him, Ned, you're my hero. Look at these newspaper clippings about when you spoke at the aforementioned World Bank, and Ned's like, I'm going to rip them up and throw them in the fire.
He does. He takes them from Alex's wallet and walks over to the fire and throws them in. And Alex is like, what are you doing? Don't do that.
Well, and that is part of the sort of melee of them wrestling for these newspaper clippings that leads to the ultimate transgression of Ned sort of like semi-accidentally smacking Alex to the ground, right? It's one of these...
He's like, get off me, and then Alex goes back for a second try, and he's like, so, Ned is just so blind drunk that he goes, I said get off me! Yeah. And he turns around and he smacks, like wallops Alex in the face. Yeah. And then, of course, you've got you've got Michael J. Fox like spending the rest of the episode looking like Stefan from SNL because he's covering his face with his hands.
Yeah, he's
to
just
make
got
it,
this
because
like
he can't
hurt
cry,
look.
and they didn't put makeup on because it was all it's all in one shot. So there's but he's just like. Stunned,
dazed,
and he's on the ground, and that's like he's on the ground. His parents rush over. Ned is still throwing things into the fire, and then he turns around and he's like, "Oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah, I hit Alex.
I can't believe I did that." And Steven's like, "That's it.
Yeah, Steven lays down the law.
You are calling AA." Or you are leaving my home.
Yes. This is, again, full on. The solution to alcoholism is Alcoholics Anonymous. You have to do it. And I was being snarky in my mind about this, that everyone keeps saying, call Alcoholics Anonymous. I guess that is a thing. And especially in the 80s when they were popularizing the commercials and stuff.
To know where there
was a number that you would call.
Right.
Yeah, I always think of it as you go to the meetings, not like a number you call. But I guess both things are true. So he picks up the phone and he starts with his usual Tom Hanks thing of basically going like, is your refrigerator running away? Like, I forget what his
Some
joke is.
Some stupid joke.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
no,
actually,
that's not
it. I'm Tom Hanks. I'm Ned Donnelly, and I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Which we get to hear everyone
It
now
is,
from
to be
this
fair,
episode on say that.
I don't think he says exactly that. I think it's later in Charles in Charge we get that specific wording. I think he just says,
I have a drinking problem.
Yeah, he says something to the effect of like, I need help. I think
help.
like I'm an alcoholic and I need help or something.
Yeah.
And, silent, freeze, fade out, go to credits, no applause, no cheer. This is a mirthless end to a very serious family ties. And yeah, again, I'll say like already in season 2, this family has been through a lot,
right. Brother is wanted by the FBI.
Yeah, again,
the sister the sister has been groped.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, it's for a sitcom, live multi-camera sitcom, it's handled very, very well. You can totally see why Tom Hanks, I don't know exactly how this all played out in terms of what he was cast in which things when, but you can see that he is on his way to the career that he had. And that, this is why that ability to be funny, but, have that pathos and just bring a realism to it, but also have that sort of silly Bill Murray,
the range that he's able to show in this. I'm surprised that he wasn't nominated for a guest actor Emmy. Maybe they didn't have it back then. That would be surprising. But yeah, it was such a great scenes. Like he has rocked it.
Yeah. And again, very little sitcom idiocy in this, like
a little bit, but not a lot.
But really, like the fatal flaw, the fatal mistake that happens in this episode is Ned getting drunk before the job interview, which is a very real, true feeling story beat, and so it's not a case of, if somebody had just said something like, no, Alex talks to his mom talks to her brother, the brother says everybody does like a realistic, correct thing. It's just that Ned falls prey to his addiction, which is a very real thing. And so, I think this all around very, very strong.
Yeah, no, it's a great episode, 100.
All right, let's move on to Charles in Charge.
Season 3, episode 9, Bottle Baby.
So, this is the point where now I think we're really starting to use the older episodes as a template and just sort of slot in different characters and situations. But I think this is where we're kind of going on autopilot a little bit here.
The template, as you have like a pretty well-known from another sitcom guest star. So we have Natalie from Facts of Life, Mindy Cohn. She is joining the cast as Buddy's sister, Bunny.
Yes.
And we find out, I think this is the first
This
time.
is a big lore drop in Charles in Charge history.
We find out that Buddy's name is Buttons.
Buttons, which for the rest of the series, they constantly refer to. This is like Cosmo Kramer. Like once it's out, it's out. And he loves, in any sort of like formal situation, referring to himself as Buttons Lembeck. But yes, this is the first we find out about it. And yeah, Buddy is telling Charles, my sister's coming to town, but unlike some of the other shows, he is not looking forward to this. And I feel like this whole setup is a little out of character for Buddy, who is a very laid back, easygoing, personable guy.
Yes.
He says that his sister is very smart and intelligent, which he isn't. So we understand, okay, they're opposites. But he says they weren't close, and he's just generally nervous and uptight about her coming around. Like, oh, what are we going to talk about? Well, you need to be around, Charles, to help me, deal with the awkwardness. And just like, it's a contrivance for the story, but I just felt like, this is not how Buddy would feel about any situation.
No, and later episodes when other members of his family, like his magician father, come and, present themselves, we get a completely different picture of his upbringing.
Yes, this is much like Zach in Saved by the Bell, where sometimes he has a mom who is a single mom, sometimes he has a dad who is a computer salesman, but he never has both at the same time. They make up a different family situation for each episode. But yeah, so...
And this is an early SVB joint. Scott Vincent Baio directs.
Vincent Baio is directing, yes, so we know that it's going to be special. And I will say, I feel like this is probably the closest Charles in Charge ever really gets to a special episode as far as issues. They're always learning lessons and stuff, but I think there's one where one of them gets into a car accident towards the end that is pretty serious. But this is, I feel like this is the most kind of sincere that Charles in Charge ever
And the
gets.
other one that we've watched about the makeovers, they have a pretty good.
Well, that's what I mean about they're always learning lessons
on that one.
with the kids. But this is the only time I feel like Charles really flirts with like,
we're going to deal with some real issues.
Yeah. So Mindy Cohn shows up as Bunny, Buddy's sister. And like he said, she is very nervous and shy. But I have to say this, like... Nobody else is helping. Like, they bring in Bunny, right? They sit her down on the couch. We have the whole cast there, the daughters, Nicole Eggert and the other one, and Buddy and Charles. And it's like supposed to be this awkward situation, but it's like, it takes two to tango, man. Like somebody asks Bunny, like, oh, what do you study in school? And she answers them. And then they just like stare at their feet awkwardly, like, oh, gee, I guess she just gave this short answer. I guess there's nothing we could do. Like nobody else is helping move the conversation along either.
Right. And then Sarah asks about poetry, and that gets Bunny talking, and they hit it off.
Yes.
And so
but still talking in a reserved way.
Of course.
Compared to what we'll see later
on. But I mean, I was like, I was like Charles in that moment where it was like, see, this is going fine. Like, what are you saying about your sister being super shy? She and Sarah have hit it off. They're going to go upstairs. They're going to talk about poetry. It's going to be great.
Yeah, they make plans to go to the library later.
Right. Or there's like a poetry reading or a poetry night happening or something. So they make plans to do that. And we had found out earlier, Buddy had said that Bunny he doesn't remember how old she is.
Yes.
And then he's like, oh, Charles, how am I supposed to know how old she is? When she was born, I was 2.
We have the funny Buddy joke where he says, we're related by marriage. My father married my mother, and then they had us.
Right. And so, so anyway, so that's how we kind of figure out, well, all right, if, Buddy is like 2021, she must just be turning 18 and she's away at college. She, apparently went away to college early or something because she was very smart, but she is just as close in age and temperament to Sarah because Sarah's like, what, 14 at
Yeah,
this point?
she's a little older.
Yeah,
you know,
they talk
but-
about Jamie later in the episode being 15.
Yeah.
So I would assume that means Sarah's about 14.
Yeah, so this Bunny is a little older than them, a little younger than Charles and Buddy. This is, I'm sure, at the time when we're right in the middle of her stint as Natalie on Facts of Life, right?
Yeah,
They're probably
it's
in college.
1988, and
Yeah,
so
this
we're
is right in
coming
the middle.
down to the end of Facts of Life, right? Facts
Right.
of Life started in like 78, 79.
Oh, wow, went that early.
Yeah,
but
and then-
they're in college.
Right, and then kind of ran until those George Clooney years
Yeah.
where it started fading out, and they, Charlotte Ray left, and they brought in
Oh, we've covered those.
all the different people and stuff. And so yeah, it's kind of coming to the end, or this might be like the first season where she's not.
Yeah, but we get a new subtrope here that's going to continue in Hey Dude, this thing of like, oh, hi, I'm here under normal pretenses and my life is fine. And then it slowly comes out, oh, no, I actually need to tell you, in this case, our parents don't know that I'm here. She essentially ran away from home, right?
She's run away from school because she's at
Yeah.
college. So she's run away from college, and it was because she's like failing all of her classes, and she, the alcoholism is affecting her life.
Right, which we don't know about yet.
Right,
That's
we don't
all
know
a
that
secret.
yet. But she says to Buddy, I'm in a lot of trouble. If mom and dad call, you need to say that I'm here and I'm safe and you don't know what's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we get, this same sort of like, let me go, don't worry about me. Let me go off to my own devices. In this case, Bunny, like we said, has made plans with Sarah to go to the library, and then she's going to go to the pizza shop, right? The old familiar Sid's that at this point is owned by Charles's mom.
Yes.
And she's going to meet up with Charles and Buddy, and they'll show her a good time, etc. But she is like hours late meeting them at the pizza shop, and his mom, the proprietor of the restaurant, I think, gets off the phone. It's like, oh, I just talked to Sarah. She parted ways with Bunny hours ago. So Bunny is unaccounted for.
Right. And so then Buddy gets up to go to the bathroom, and in walks a completely different Bunny.
Yes.
She is wild and raucous, and she sits on Charles's lap.
Yes, the way Charles will describe it later in the episode, she became Whoopi Goldberg. Right?
Which I was like, what movie?
That is how you describe. I mean, she is a funny, wacky person.
Yeah,
I guess. I mean, this would be early in her career. I feel like The Color Purple would have been like the last movie she was in.
I don't know. That was later.
She was a stand-up comedian.
She was a stand-up, and that's kind of, I guess, where he was going with it.
Yeah.
But she comes in, she sits on his lap, she's, flopping all over the place. Then she gets up herself to go to the bathroom, but first she straddles Charles.
Yes.
Lays a big old smooch on him.
Kisses him,
And
yes.
then goes to go to the bathroom and gets distracted by the two handsome gentlemen sitting
She
one table
latches
over.
on to these two frat guys and is like, yes, I will go to your frat party. Let's go.
Let's go.
And so she's pulling like a Mr. Snuffleupagus and like coming and going while Buddy is away and doesn't even see her.
Right. So Buddy comes back from the bathroom and he's like, oh, where's my sister? And Charles is like, oh, she just went to the bathroom. She's acting like Whoopi Goldberg, whatever. It's crazy. I don't know. And he's like, what are you talking about? And then they turn and they see Bunny leaving with these two frat guys, and they're like, what are you doing? Where are you going? And she's like, these guys, they're my old friends. We're gonna go to a party at their place. And they're like, whoa, should you do that? And she's like, yeah, I've known them forever. Come on, guys, let's go. And she's gone, and Charles is looking at Buddy like, are you gonna stop this? And Buddy's like, wow, isn't that great? She always has such a hard time making friends.
Right. And so the next day, this is actually when Buddy, or when Charles says his Whoopi Goldberg comparison, because we're firmly in the part of the template where we have one character with their suspicions. Why is this person acting so strange? Everybody else being in denial.
Yeah.
So,
he says, why does she have one personality during the day and another personality at night?
Yeah, he's going like, she's just acting weird. Didn't you think it was weird that she became Whoopi Goldberg, that she went from reading poetry in the library to like, pole dancing at a frat party? Like, this is strange. And so he goes into the kitchen to confront Bunny or to like investigate, like, let me talk to her and ask her why she was acting so strange. And that's when we get, just like every one of these episodes, the caught red-handed glugging grandpa's cough medicine in the kitchen.
Well, and so I take issue, though, and I always take issue with the speed at which Charles in Charge in a lot of these sitcoms just like turn these story points out. Because as a fellow person who, without drinking and drugs, likes to read poetry during the day and will pole dance at a frat party at night, I say we contain all things.
That's fair enough. And it is worth, like saying maybe she was being so weird. I mean, look, as you mentioned, she started with the guess who thing and then like straddled him on the lap, kissed him. So she is technically sexually assaulting him. And that, like, the whole thing is very, very odd. But you're right. Like, maybe she was just being weird. But in any case, it becomes a moot point because Charles learns you're drinking in secret. What's going on?
Right.
He immediately starts talking about Alcoholics Anonymous, and she shuts that down. And we get the standard scene. Leave me alone. I know what's best, etc.
And I can stop anytime I want.
Yes. In this case, Bunny's catchphrase is, I never hurt anyone but myself, right? That's her sort of final word on the scene before cutting to a commercial. And so, we get Charles is in the same dilemma everyone's in these episodes, is now, what do I do with this knowledge that Bunny is an alcoholic and is secretly, destroying herself?
Mm-hmm. And so he tries to tell Buddy, right? But Buddy is blowing it off. Buddy's like, you're being judgmental, and of course he does the sitcom thing. Charles does the sitcom thing of not saying, no, she was chugging a bottle of whiskey in the kitchen.
He's not like Alex Keaton, who has the good sense to give you the details so he's not lying.
That's right. So he gets, like you were saying earlier, he's basically gaslit by Buddy that, it's all in his mind. And he is like, now that he's caught her red-handed, he's like, I've got to find a way to convince Buddy. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so in the meanwhile, now Bunny and Sarah have made new plans.
Yes.
There is some party at the school, some like event at the school, and she's going to drive all the kids. Bunny's going to take Buddy's car, drive all the kids to the school for this event.
Yes.
And then come home and meet up with Charles and Buddy and do something
because she has
that
not crossed paths with Charles since their confrontation. He has a funny conversation with his mom. This is the closest we get to that subtrope of blaming the wrong person for the drinking. Somehow his mom thinks he's talking about her, and he goes, that one time on your 12th birthday, I had too much to drink and I fell on your Aunt Molly. Let's not make a big deal of it.
And Charles is like, not you, Buddy's sister. Yeah. And she's like, no way. She's such a sweet girl. Couldn't possibly be.
Right. And now this is the first and only one of these episodes, I think, that brings in the element of drunk driving.
Right.
Right. Because, long story short, they find out like something's wrong. Like,
yeah, they're late again, coming back from the party at school, and Grandpa and I think this is by the time the actual mom on the show has, kind of pieced out and is like raising her own kids. So they talk about her in absentia. Like, Ellen Travolta shows up and she's like, oh, the kid's mom called me and asked me to make dinner because she knew you had
she's
plans.
She's like Naomi. She's always in the bathroom.
That's right. So anyway, so it's Grandpa and Charles's mom, Charles and Buddy, waiting for everybody to come home, and they were supposed to be home already.
Yeah, they get some call, or maybe they just know because, they were just due back.
They were due back, yeah.
It is that thing of like, oh my God, what's happened? And then...
and they're getting ready to go out the door and go look for them.
Yeah.
When the door opens and in walk the kids.
The kids with the most superficial Hollywood
bedraggled
face bruises Yeah, they could. And look, I'm not saying that I think they should have like had Adam be like decapitated in this car crash.
No, but apparently they had to walk like half a mile home because they got in an accident half a mile
she drove
down the
into
street.
a tree or a telephone pole or something. And so, yeah, they just got out and walked. And so, yeah, they all have these little, little makeup bruises on their face.
Jamie has a shiner, and I think, what's the son's name? Adam. He's got like a ripped pair of jeans and like a bloody knee or something. Or he's like, and then I think, is it Sarah that's like holding her arm when she comes in? Sarah comes in a little bit after Jamie and Adam and is like, expressing how mad she is. Well, I don't know why. She's got that sing-songy voice.
Yes.
You can tell her that she should have done that before she drove into the tree.
Yeah. And then Grandpa, rather than taking them for medical attention, because the three of them have all been in a car accident, he goes, come on, kids, I'm taking you upstairs.
We gotta go upstairs. He's like trying to clear the room so they can have this serious conversation.
Yeah.
But these kids have just been in a serious accident. So it's so funny. He's like, oh, come on, kids. Let's go upstairs. Oh, Sarah, you're here now. Let's go upstairs. And then Bunny comes in and is like,
not quite at the level.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, she's not coming in as hot as Tom Hanks the night after his job interview, but she's stumbling in. She's going on about Buddy's steering wheel. She's doing the thing of like, oh, that car is a wreck. It could have killed somebody.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me your steering wheel doesn't work? And, nobody's buying it. Charles delivers the blow of going, I thought you said...
you only ever hurt yourself.
Yeah, she says she wants to talk to Sarah.
To apologize.
Yeah, he's like, no, you can talk to her tomorrow and you can tell her about how you only hurt yourself, right? And so that's like, oh,
and
geez.
Still, it like isn't... like Buddy isn't realizing that she was drunk.
Right. And so then I guess she just kind of like stumbles off into the night. Buddy and Charles have their moment in the kitchen. This is the most sincere I think Buddy has ever been in Willie Ames's 5-6 year portrayal of Buttons Lembeck. When Charles finally convinces him and he's like, okay, what can I do to help her? Yeah. And it's like this moment of true, sincerity. And then a minute later, Charles says, well, she's got to go to AA. And he's like, what? The auto club? How are they going to help? And we're right back to dumb old Buddy.
Exactly. Yeah. So then the next morning, they're having breakfast, and that's when Jamie and Sarah are like, she was bombed out of her mind, and says that in front of, I think, Ellen and Charles.
Yeah, Charles was trying to protect her, just doing the thing of like, oh, you kids, you shouldn't be burdened with this knowledge of her drinking. And they're teenagers, they understand, and so they're like, no, we know she was drunk, and we're lucky to be alive.
And we're really mad at her that she would make the choice to, Sarah's like, so why did she try to kill me?
Well, Sarah says that to her because they do allow Bunny to talk to Sarah that day, and they go into her bedroom and they have this heart to heart, which I guess is the closest thing to like the turning point for Bunny.
Yeah.
And Sarah, because Bunny is doing the same exact thing as Naomi. She's going, don't you understand? I'm shy. I'm awkward. She already gave this sob story to Buddy. Yeah. She already said to Buddy how you don't understand. Everybody likes you. You're personable and friendly and funny. And now she's telling Sarah, I'm awkward. I'm shy. I don't like things like that.
And Sarah's like, so am I.
Yeah. Sarah,
so should I drink?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, Sarah, she says the thing of, Bunny goes, but I like you so much. And Sarah's like, well, why did you try to kill me? And so like all of this sort of leads to Bunny going like, well, I guess I've got some thinking to do. Right.
Yeah.
And then, we get the final scene is a very dramatic Bunny coming back, talking to Charles and Buddy.
Right.
And
she's
saying,
like, oh, did you rat me out to my brother? And he's like, no, the kids did.
Yeah. And she's like, I made a new friend. I made some new friends today. All I had to do was pick up a telephone and call a certain number and say, my name is Bunny. I'm an alcoholic. Directed by Scott Vincent Baio. Not a dry eye in the house.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, look, like we said, it follows the template, and this one, it's funny, it doesn't even like ring false to me, as it's just like Cliff Notes version of everything.
You're exactly right. It was, let's run the script from Family Ties through Chat GPT and see what bullet points that it spits out.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the sketch for our episode for Charles in Charge.
Yeah, that whole like emotional cornucopia that Tom Hanks gave us. Like, yeah, we get Mindy Cohn doing her like wild ride of making out with Charles and then crashing the car, I guess. Yeah, like everything's just fast. Like, oh, you're shy. Oh, you're acting crazy. Oh, you've got a secret drinking problem. Nobody believes me. Now they do. Off to AA.
You hurt people. Now you go to AA.
Yeah. So, but that said, this is very fun in my opinion because it's Charles in Charge and it's a Buddy focused episode. We get the backstory of Buddy being Buttons and all that. But yeah, obviously after that Family Ties episode, nothing is going to, everything is going to seem like a cartoon compared to that.
Sure. And Charles always seems like a cartoon. So it's all good.
Well, and maybe we'll go even more in that direction as we move on to Hey Dude.
Maybe. Season 3, Episode 11, Melody's Brother.
Yes, this was very fun. I think it's always, we're kind of rolling the dice every time we do one of these Nickelodeon
especially the early
kids
Nickelodeon
shows. Yeah, you never know. Sometimes they can just be annoying.
Right.
This was very fun to me, and this is why we do the work. The cheesiness, right? The way that they're trying to tackle this issue, and it's just so silly. Like it's like parts of it are just hard to believe that it's written by adults.
Yeah. Well, and that is one thing that I'll say for this show, though. The reason that I like this show is because they do let the kids try to handle these problems. They don't try to have Mr. Ernst come in.
Oh, no, he's an idiot.
Yeah, well, he's an idiot. But there's also the woman who runs the stable.
Oh, yeah,
who
but
we only ever see. Yes. We only ever see really in the credits.
She's one of those sitcom characters that they thought they had a use for her and they didn't.
And they did. She'll show up every now and then when Mr. Ernst has a holiday or something.
But
so the kids, Melody in particular, is the one really trying to navigate this big adult situation.
Yes, this is a Melody episode. Yeah, this is much like the camp one, Salute Your Shorts, that we did a few weeks ago. That's like that too, where you have essentially one adult. He's a buffoon. It's really about the kids dealing with their own issues. And we should say already, season 3, we've lost our main character, Ted, right? The sort of blandly handsome, pretty boy that went on to be Blossom's boyfriend. And then he was in one of those primetime soaps, Melrose Place, or one of those in the late 90s.
Yeah, I just remember him I always got him confused with DJ's boyfriend on Full House because they look so much alike. But it's not him. His name is like something Lassiter, I think.
Yeah.
But so he's already gone. This is what episode or season 3.
Yes.
He was in seasons 1 and 2. He pieced out, was on, more major network shows, broadcast network shows, not cable. And then you've got basically the talent of Christine Taylor now carrying the rest of this show.
Yeah, but of course they're not going to let the show go on without getting another blandly handsome white man to be the center of it. So we have this new character, Jake, again, much like they did on Salute Your Shorts. Just like, last time it was brown-haired guy, this time it'll be a dark brown-haired guy.
Yeah, he's got very striking blue eyes.
Yeah, he's got the kind of sunken, like the sort of natural mascara kind of thing that some people have. Yeah, he's a good-looking guy, but not really much of a presence.
No, but season 3, Danny has been taking acting classes, and he's better than he was in that earlier episode that we watched.
Is better a little bit. I think Brad is not really better. I'm sure I made the same observation.
We didn't say so much of Brad this time anyway.
But honestly, she had like one line at the beginning that immediately reminded me of how bad I thought she was in the last one.
Well, and then Ernst's kid is, I forget his name, but
his name's Buddy,
that's right.
Buddy.
He's another Buddy.
And
but he is a little bit older now. He was like the 11-year-old. Now he's the 13-year-old. And his cousin is Jake, the new guy.
Yeah.
And so he is making more of a splash, and he's a good actor too, like a good kid actor.
Yeah, my feeling is, like I've said before, I think the cast of Hey Dude makes the cast of Saved by the Bell look like the Steppenwolf Theater Company. Like they're all pretty shaky.
Zach Morris as William H. Macy.
Buddy and Mr. Ernst have the B story, this sort of running little comic strip style thing where they're trying to fix the plumbing. As soon as they walked on holding those wrenches, I was like, okay, so there's going to be water shooting out before we go to the theme song, and that's exactly what happened. Not really that relevant to the main story, which is Melody's brother this time is coming to town, or coming to the ranch, I should say.
Yeah,
the
coming
Dude
to
Ranch.
visit on his summer break before he starts med school.
Yeah. So this is a guy, I would say in general, I was taken aback by this guy. Like I had a sort of audible reaction to him showing up. And I don't really know why, honestly. He was not
like a normal brown-haired white dude.
He was a normal guy, but he had that sort of like not quite camera-ready look that you get, I think, on some of these low-budget shows. And he just looked strange to me. I guess he's starting med school, so I think we're supposed to understand he's like college age, like older college age, definitely old enough to drink legally. And he's coming to the ranch. And like we mentioned before, we immediately get the sense that something might be a little off when somebody goes to take his bag and he's like, no, don't touch that.
Yeah. Don't take my backpack. I've got that.
Yeah.
And so he grabs the backpack and off they go to show him to his cabin or whatever. And then Melody is, as she's like walking him there, they're catching up, and she's like, okay, great. So I have a whole day planned of activities for us. I got the day off. So I can be a guest with you today and do all the fun things around the ranch. And he was like, oh, I thought you had to work. So I made plans with my fraternity buddies in town that live here. So I've got to go. I'm going to see them. And she's like, really? You're here to visit me? You're only here for like a day and a half and you got to go? That sucks.
Already sketchy as hell, even without the drinking part. Just why doesn't he invite her to come? I get that she's younger, but like, I don't know. It seems weird. And then we get the, I'm not going to blame Hey Dude for being predictable when I'm a 47-year-old man watching a show for kids. But we get Melody asking him, how's everything going with your girlfriend? When are you going to propose? When are you going to get married? Right. And so that tells us we're going to get, much like in the last one, the initial portrayal of his life as being totally together and happy. And then we're going to find out later that, he's actually running from, the collapse of his relationship and all that. But yeah, he goes off to his frat thing.
Before he even goes, he asks the guys Jake and Danny, if they want to come with him. He doesn't invite Melody.
Yeah, what the hell?
He asks the guys if they want to come, and they're like, no.
Yeah.
And so that kind of lets us know that he really isn't meeting up with any fraternity buddies. He's just going to drink.
Yeah, because you're right. He is asking them, he's inviting them to go to a bar.
Yeah.
And I guess I didn't put two and two together. I just figured, well, frat guys like to drink. He is going to a frat party. But yeah, and this is where we start to get the, Nickelodeon preachiness, which again, I'm not complaining about, but the difference between this and the earlier shows where we get a portrayal of like some people drink normally and other people have this problematic relationship. Now we've entered a world where like any mention of alcohol needs to be treated like you're talking about, you know, black tar heroin. And so you get Danny going like, no, thank you. I like my brain cells. And the other one going, yeah, and I like my liver. I don't want to destroy it. You know, like we just get them like immediate. And granted, like they are probably underage and whatever. They don't want to drink with him, but immediately, yeah, scoffing at like, no, we don't want to go to a bar, you filth.
Why would we want to do that? Why are you even offering? And so they're a little bit like hesitant, and they say something to Melody, and she's like, oh, you guys, you know, he was just being nice. Like, what are you talking about? Whatever. Yeah. He's allowed, you know, it's fine. It was nice of him to invite you, you know, whatever. And so, but then he comes back and she can tell something's not right, but she is gaslighting herself.
Yes.
She is like, denial. It's going to be fine. Like, oh,
this is
not
also,
right.
Yeah, this is daylight exterior scene. He comes like, you know, like just sort of like, stumbling, up against a tree or something. He's talking to the other people. He's like, nah, does somebody have any water or whatever?
He says, I'm going to go take a nap before we do
I thought this was the next morning. I thought he was hungover. Then we find, no, they're on their way to dinner. Yeah. This is just like 4:00 in the afternoon or something.
Right. And he's like, yeah, I'll have dinner later. I think I'm going to take a little nap. And so she's like, okay, well, you know, can we hang out this evening? Because I miss you and you're only here for a short time. And he's like, yeah, of course. Yeah. And so then he goes to have his nap. But he is immediately interrupted because it turns out that the cabin that they've given him is connected to the plumbing line problem.
Yeah, this ties into the other thing
that was established in that first scene. And so they have to go wake him up and get him out of there. And he's like, what? Oh, okay, I'll get my stuff, you know, whatever. And then he grabs his bag and his backpack.
Chekhov's Jaeger bottle or whatever the hell
Crown
that was.
Royal. And so he goes to come out, and Mr. Ernst is like, oh, I'll take that from you. That's fine. And he's like, no. And then it drops, and the Crown Royal bottle shatters everywhere. And immediately you see Melody's face like, oh my God.
Yes, they were right.
So, well, it's just like everybody knows that he's drinking now. She has this like this, oh my God, everybody knows kind of face, like, oh. And she was like, oh, you know, that was so nice of you to bring the gift for Dad that you bought. I didn't realize you were taking
for Uncle
it to California.
John. Said, yes,
oh yeah,
every
Uncle John.
time we get together with Uncle John, we always get him his traditional Crown Royal
She
bottle.
says brandy, even though it was definitely a Crown Royal.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so then they're cleaning it up, and you know, and
maybe
Mr.
if this guy hadn't been such a sketchball from the beginning, it wouldn't be so scandalous that he had an unopened. I don't know if it was open. It's broken, so
basically
it doesn't matter. A full bottle of liquor in his thing. He is an adult,
right?
We remember, but yeah, Melody thinks quick, gets them off the scent, and then they have their heart to heart. Melody and the brother, and this is where we get a little bit like what we alluded to with the Good Times episode. They are the children of an alcoholic.
Yes.
And she starts talking about, we said we would never be like Dad. We promised each other we would never be like Dad. And he's going, I'm not like Dad. I'm just a frat guy. I just have drinks once in a while. And we get the same conversation we've got in every one of these episodes with that added kernel of their father is an alcoholic, which is, again, like a very true to life thing and a very legitimate concern that is to an extent undermined by the sort of,
Yes. But I have to say, like, if we're talking about the way that these different actors are able to kind of hold their own with some heavy content, Christine Taylor is doing better than everyone on Charles in Charge. Christine Taylor's performance as a 16-year-old girl is up there with, I think, Alex P. Keaton. Like, she is holding her own. She is, yes, it's kitschy dialogue. Yes, it's Nickelodeon. Hey, dude, totally get it. But she is playing it with sincerity. She's a whiny character. She has sort of a whiny tone to her voice, but it's not sing-songy like Sarah and Charles in Charge.
No.
You know what I mean? And she has just her facial reaction alone when they are able to cut to her, she is acting and she's doing a good job. And then she's got these, the whole monologue where she's talking about the dad and how you promised you wouldn't be like that. And will you promise me that you won't drink anymore?
Yes. I sort of half agree. She's probably the best of the cast and she does a pretty good job. I don't think she's on the level of Michael J. Fox as Alex P. Keaton.
I'm just saying, if they had cast her as Jennifer instead of Jennifer, then we would have had a very different family ties arc, right? Yeah. Because I think Christine Taylor is a better actor than, was it Tina Yothers?
Yeah, I think they give her, her reaction is really melodramatic and extreme. And she starts going, I'm scared. And it's a question of, she plays it really extreme. And I wonder if that's the way she's told to, if it's, if that's just sort of the only way she can see it, if that was her choice, because there is a way to do this that's a little more down to earth. But as it is, we get a big crying, sobbing performance where she's going, I'm scared, she's terrified of what could become of him. He reveals at this point that the girlfriend broke up with him
because of his drinking.
Yeah.
So he actually, at that point, he doesn't reveal that. He reveals that during their second, because what he promises her after the bottle breaks and they have their heart to heart is that he'll stop drinking.
Yeah.
He promises. And then just like all of our template, right? Just like our template has been established, then he immediately gets drunk again the next day.
Well, this is the dumbest part. When they have this conversation, he promises not to drink, just like Tom Hanks and everybody else. And then he goes, I want to go to the movies, right? This reminded me of Patrick Bateman going, I need to return some videotapes. Like this, if he wasn't a dick for not inviting her the previous night, this makes no sense at all.
Right.
I want to go to the movies.
She is skeptical. She's like, why?
Yeah.
And he was like, don't you trust me?
Yeah,
I promised you.
Goes right to don't you trust me. And it's not even about trust. What you're saying makes no sense. You putting the alcohol aside, going to the movies is a stupid and careless thing to do at this point.
And he's like, but I feel like I've already hung out here for a whole day. So I want to stretch my legs. I want to go see a movie.
I can relate to, as much as anybody, needing a break from all the people and everything, wanting to go to a movie. But this is like a 36-hour visit with his sister. Yeah. And he's spent 45 minutes with her, just lying.
And I think they do end up, they have the morning together the next day, right? They do some things. They're playing chicken, but in canoes, right?
Yes, they're playing canoe polo.
Canoe polo, that's what they're doing.
Rowboat polo.
Yeah. And so he does hang out with her, and then it's after that he says, I'm going to go to a movie now.
Yes.
And she doesn't believe him, but he's like, you don't trust me. And she's like, okay, I believe you. And then he goes off.
Yeah. Again, even believing him, he's like, why are you doing that? And he goes, either you trust me or you don't.
Right.
Just hate this guy. And then, not unlike Charles in Charge, we get a call from the police.
Well, and also not unlike Charles in Charge, we get everyone waiting around hours later, wondering, because they want to have dinner now, but he is not back yet. And Melody's like, oh, hey, he probably just, ran into some friends and decided to hang out with them. She's making excuses for him again. And then the police call.
Yes.
And Mr. Ernst
takes it. He gets his turn to do a sincere acting moment. He goes, and I don't know, maybe this is something that could happen. This didn't sound real to me. He says, they're holding him on suspicion of drunk driving. Wouldn't it be more like he blew a 3.2 and now he's in the holding cell or something? Just the suspicion part was funny to me. They've got the detectives closing in on him.
Innocent until proven guilty, Jack.
Fair enough. So yes, he's being held on suspicion of drunk driving, and then we get Mel refuses to bail him out. Yep. Right? That's her character arc of this episode.
Yeah,
she's been in denial, and she says, no, I'll go tomorrow morning, but I'm not, because Mr. Ernst says, well, you're a kid, you don't have any money, I'll give you the money to bail him out. She says, no, let's let him rot in jail overnight.
She says something like, just like with my dad, he's never going to learn his lesson. So, we'll see him tomorrow. Or Mr. Ernst goes without her and bails him out and brings him back. And then we have a confrontation the next morning between brother and sister.
Yes.
And the brother, talk about a dick move, is like incensed that she didn't come and bail him out. He's like, it would have been nice to see you at my lowest moment in the jailhouse.
Yeah. Now, granted, that probably was a pretty extreme experience for this pampered, future medical student, Christine Taylor's brother. But yes, he's mad at her for not bailing him out. They get into it just like in every one of these other shows. And she does the thing. She doesn't quite have the cautionary tales, the outlandish ones that Thelma does. But she says, kids younger than me have drinking problems, Billy. You read about it in magazines all the time.
Right, because he's arguing that he doesn't have a drinking problem. He just likes to drink.
Yes.
And then it comes out that his girlfriend of all of
Second
college
reveal
has broken up with him because of his drinking.
Right. First reveal was we broke up because I spent too much time doing homework, whatever. We broke up. We're not together anymore.
Yeah.
Second reveal, we broke up because of the drinking. We get another AA shout out, right?
Yep.
Another, why don't you do that? And then I feel like
he's like, only old people go to Alcoholics Anonymous. He's trying to argue. And that's when she comes back with, lots of people have drinking problems, people younger than me. You need to get help. And it's the only way that you're going to make it through med school. It's the only way you're going to live up to being my hero that you are. You promised you'd be around for me, and you're not going to be able to live up to that promise if you don't take care of yourself.
Yeah. And so his sort of final vow is he's going to go home and talk to the dad.
Right.
That's his compromise between I won't go to AA, but I'll talk to our dad, who's also an alcoholic. I don't know if he's recovered. He's recovered.
Exactly.
So, okay, that's the first step, I guess. He'll get,
he'll
some
reach out to his dad,
or
who,
whatever.
maybe could be a sponsor or, they recommend not family though.
No,
right?
but just, giving him some encouragement or whatever. I guess he's taking steps towards acknowledging his problem, etc. And that's it, right? That's the wrap up of this one.
Yeah.
I found this one very fun, like I said, because it was just something about the silliness. Again, no offense to Christine Taylor, who I agree was doing a good job. But yeah, we've seen the high quality version with Tom Hanks and the fairly realistic portrayal. Now we get this guy going oh, don't mind me, I'm just going to the movies. And then Christine Taylor breaking down crying. We should mention we get, in addition to their whole thing about we don't want to mess up our liver, Danny and Jake, the new main character, they have their own little side talk about how stupid it is to drink. And Danny's going, I had a friend who was drinking. He was a fellow Indian on the reservation, right? Because we're still using that nomenclature. And he's like, he let us all down. He became just another Indian with a drinking problem, which I guess was kind of a pervasive stereotype. I don't even think of that really as a thing anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was about bringing dishonor and, because of the, the long history of destroying lives for people on reservations and no access to many services and on and on and on. Yes, alcoholism, drug abuse are pervasive issues on reservations. Yeah. And this was a moment for, an actual Native American to call it out and say this is a problem. And so again, I think way to go Nickelodeon for taking the moment to make this educational. Now it would be decried as woke because how dare you mention that brown people have problems that might be caused by institutional biases and racism that exist in our society. In this case, it's just caused by
alcohol. They're not even blaming anyone else.
He doesn't go so far as to say that, but he does call out the fact that it's just another. Sure. Like, this is a pervasive issue.
I liked the way it could be, again, the way that Nickelodeon shows or Disney Channel shows can be grating at times. This was like, just like you're saying, it has its heart in the right place and is comically ridiculous. It's like very silly and cheesy. And so you can sort of laugh at it at the same time as you appreciate it. And it's never boring or annoying.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I'm looking at this. This is 1990. So I am in fourth and fifth grade in 1990, depending on the time of year. This is early season, but you know how Nickelodeon shows their seasons didn't run the same as like regular seasons. So at some point in 1990, I'm 9, 10, going on 11 years old ish. And so this definitely was an early exposure to me learning about alcoholism. And then it would have been on a rerun that I watched the Family Ties episode that was much more like, now let's all sit down together as a family and have a conversation about drinking. And I think it was pretty early on. Like, my parents and I talked a lot about big things from an early age. Like, there was no waiting to have the sex talk. I think we talked about this, that my parents started having the sex talk with me when I was in like third grade or something. And there, we just were a very like communicative family. So having these conversations about, hey, we understand that kids in high school do drink, and, the way some of these shows portray it as like teenagers just being, I don't want to ruin my liver, and like, that's not reality. We know you're going to probably drink in high school. Just call us so you don't have to drive. And so that was kind of like what I learned from these shows, is that, they were 100% like heightening reactions to things, and the kids weren't really being themselves because they were being a vessel for a message instead of what a real kid would be like. And my parents were super clear in wanting to have that conversation. We started the episode by talking about how you were like a person who chose not to party in high school, and you had a group of friends who all chose not to party. So like, how did that decision come about? Like, where was you were more like Jake or Josh or whatever his name is, Jake and Danny, being like, I don't want to mess up my liver. Yeah,
I guess to me it was honestly, I think you're right to an extent that it was the sum total of all of the 80s and 90s anti-drug messaging that did more or less work on me. I did probably have a somewhat cartoonish notion of alcohol and weed and stuff like that. But I think to me it had more to do with just rule following in general. I think I just wasn't the kind of kid that got in trouble and that did things like that. Mm-hmm. And again, when I got to college and that wasn't really as much of a risk, I did start messing around with that kind of stuff. But I feel like, I definitely, when watching any of these, regardless of how young I was, I always knew they were being kind of cheesy, like you could be 5 years old and watch this and you get like, I don't think that's really how a drunk person would act. It did sort of sink in and give me that impression of, you want to stay away from this stuff. And then, now watching it as an adult, like I said, when it's portrayed even vaguely realistically, I relate to it. I wouldn't say I learned from it necessarily, but I relate to, these little, Melanie tells her brother, you're carrying around a supply. That's just what Dad did, I used to carry around a Poland Spring bottle full of water in my inside jacket pocket. I didn't have to be weird about anybody handling my luggage. I had my own supplies. Those details. It wasn't water. Those details, were fun to see in this sitcom context. Yeah. So what do you think? Best, worst, any final thoughts? I mean, obviously the best is Tom Hanks. That, you've got Tom Hanks and Michael J. Fox. It's just going to be a great show. They set the template. So I think obviously that's my favorite. This was such a good trope. It makes me want to go and watch some of the other ones on our list. Like in Blossom, we know the oldest brother, Anthony, has a drug and alcohol problem. And there's a couple of episodes where
they deal with that. He has like a relapse, or Blossom thinks he's having a relapse. The Saved by the Bell episode is really good. I remember that from back in the day. But doing the research for this, there's also a Major Dad and a Who's the Boss that I don't remember that I want to go and see.
Yeah. And definitely the more you broaden it to just dealing with alcohol in general, lots of sitcoms, especially in the 80s and 90s, would try to tackle that. Yeah, I agree. These were all really fun. This was a very fun lineup, like I said at the beginning, despite the gravity of the subject matter. And I have to concur. I mean, I thought the first one, The Good Times, was really fun. Just sort of seeing, again, the sort of like insight next to the silliness, the thing of, oh, she's been in the bathroom all morning. Oh, what? My parents are coming? I guess I better go put on more makeup, just very, very fun. But yeah, nothing can hold a candle to that tour de force performance of Tom Hanks as drunk Uncle Ned. But yeah, that's it. So much for the visiting alcoholic relatives. What are we talking about next week?
Well, we are sticking with the very special episode trend, and we are going to look into special episodes where our characters are befriending a homeless person for Christmas. We are watching Barney Miller Season 8, Episode 7, Homeless, Growing Pains, Season 2, Episode 9, The Kid, Saved by the Bell, Season 3, Episodes 24 and 25, Home for Christmas, Parts 1 and 2, and Family Matters, Season 6, Episode 11, Miracle on Elm Street.
Yep, befriending a homeless person for Christmas is next week, and until then, we will consider this segment of the sitcom study concluded. Thank you for listening to the Sitcom Study. Tell us what you think or share your own TV tropes and topic ideas by sending a self-addressed stamped email to sitcomstudypodcast@gmail.com or find us on Facebook or Instagram. And if you like the show, consider leaving a rating or review on your podcast app. It helps us boost those precious Nielsen ratings. The Sitcom Study is recorded in front of a live studio dog.